Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time we're going to be jumping into the book of Joshua, chapter 15,
Okay.
and we'll be looking at, what we can take away from that for our lives today.
Sounds good.
So to kind of set the scene,
Yeah.
chapter 15 in the book of Joshua lays out the inheritance of the tribe of Judah, and it gets really detailed
hmm
about, like, all the boundaries of their territory. It's almost like reading a super specific legal document.
It's fascinating how much detail they went into.
Right.
And I think that speaks to something really important even back then,
Okay.
which is they understood the need for clarity
Right.
and for order and for agreements to prevent future conflict.
Yeah, it's like that whole idea that good fences make good neighbors.
Exactly.
But it's not just about, like drawing lines on a map.
No.
We also meet some really interesting characters in this chapter.
Oh, absolutely.
And one of the most, striking ones is Caleb.
Yes.
He's portrayed as this, like, fearless warrior who conquers the city of Hebron and drives out the Anakim, who were, like, legendary for their size and strength.
Yeah, they were considered giants.
Yeah, like, can you imagine going up against the most intimidating figures of your time?
He would be terrifying.
Right. But Caleb just goes for it.
He did. And I think what's so inspiring about him is his unwavering faith
Mm-hmm.
and his determination. He didn't let the size of the challenge intimidate him.
Yeah, he just believed that he could overcome it.
He trusted in his ability and in whatever higher power he believed in.
So, if you're listening to this and you're feeling overwhelmed by something,
Yes.
like a big project at work, or there's a personal fear that you haven't been able to get past,
Mhm.
Caleb's story is like a reminder that you have the strength inside of you
You do.
to overcome whatever it is.
Absolutely. It's about
Yeah.
tapping into that inner strength, whatever it may be for you,
Yeah.
whether it's faith determination or something else entirely.
Right.
But we all have that potential within us.
So we've got Caleb the fearless warrior. But then there's another really interesting character in this chapter.
Okay.
And that's Caleb's daughter, Aksa.
Oh, yes. Aksa is a fantastic example of someone who knows her worth
Yeah.
and isn't afraid to advocate for what she needs.
Mm-hmm.
She actually goes to her father and she requests land with water sources.
And she gets it.
She does.
Like, she was
Okay.
not going to just sit back and accept, whatever was handed to her.
Absolutely not.
She saw what she wanted, and she went for it.
I think that's such an important lesson for us today.
Yeah.
Because how often do we kind of shy away from asking for what we need?
Right?
Whether it's a raise at work or support from our friends or just a little extra help around the house.
Yeah, it's like that saying, if you don't ask, you don't get.
Exactly. And Aksa embodies that perfectly.
So, we've got these stories of courage
Mm-hmm.
and assertiveness. But then there's also this part in Joshua chapter 15 that kind of shows the challenges
Okay.
that can stick around, even when you've got the best intentions.
Are you talking about the Jebusites remaining in Jerusalem,
Yes.
even after all of Judah's efforts to drive them out?
Yeah, it's almost like this reminder that sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
no matter how hard you try,
Yeah.
some challenges might linger. It's easy to think that once you overcome a big obstacle,
Right.
that everything's going to be smooth sailing.
Yeah, like you've reached the finish line.
But life's not really like that, is it?
No, not usually. It's rarely that simple.
Right. So the fact that the Jebusites stayed there, even after all that effort,
Mm-hmm.
it reminds us that sometimes you have to adapt
Yes.
and be patient and, maybe even change your approach.
It's about trusting the process and understanding that sometimes overcoming obstacles takes time
Yeah.
and requires flexibility.
Right. Yeah. It's like when you think you finally cleaned your whole house
Yeah.
and then you realize, oh, wait, there's still the garage.
Exactly. Some things just take more time and effort.
Right. And it's a good reminder to celebrate the victories, but also to, acknowledge that it might not always be a straight line.
Yeah. It's a journey, not a destination.
So we've talked about conquering these giants, setting boundaries, and even those challenges that just don't want to go away.
Right.
But what does all this mean for us, like, in the 21st century?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah. How can we actually apply these principles to our modern lives?
Well, one of the things that really stands out to me from Joshua chapter 15 is the importance of setting boundaries.
Okay.
Just like those super specific boundaries they laid out for the tribe of Judah,
Mm-hmm.
we need to establish healthy boundaries in our own relationships with our friends, our families, our colleagues.
It's like creating a structure for healthy interactions.
Exactly.
Right.
Defining what's acceptable and what's not.
But some people think that setting boundaries is kind of selfish.
Right. I hear that a lot.
How do we balance that with being supportive of the people in our lives?
It's a great question, and it's true that setting boundaries can be tough,
Yeah.
especially if we're used to putting everyone else's needs before our own. But think about it this way. If you're constantly drained and overwhelmed,
Right.
you're not going to be able to show up for others in a meaningful way anyway.
So it's actually like self-care.
It is. Taking care of yourself enables you to take care of others.
And when you communicate your boundaries clearly and with compassion, people will respect them right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's about finding that balance between your needs and being considerate of others.
Okay, that makes sense. So what about Caleb? How can we apply his courage and determination to our own lives?
Caleb's story is a powerful reminder that we all have that potential for greatness.
Mm-hmm.
We all face challenges that seem huge,
Right.
but like Caleb, we can choose to confront them head on.
So whether it's something like fear of public speaking
Mm-hmm.
or maybe like a big career change that we've been thinking about,
Yeah, anything that feels really scary.
we can choose to face those fears.
Absolutely. And remember, you don't have to do it alone.
Right.
Just like Caleb had the support of his tribe, we can lean on our friends, our families, our mentors for help.
And speaking of seeking support,
Mm-hmm.
I think Aksa's story is really interesting when it comes to advocating for ourselves.
It is. She knew what she wanted, and she wasn't afraid to ask for it.
Right, like she didn't wait for someone to just offer it to her.
No, she took initiative.
So how do we do that in our own lives?
Yeah.
How do we advocate for ourselves without coming across as like demanding or pushy?
It's all about the approach. Aksa didn't demand. She made a respectful request,
Okay.
and she highlighted how her request would benefit everyone.
So it's about being assertive but also considerate.
Exactly. And even if you don't get exactly what you wanted,
Yeah.
the act of advocating for yourself is powerful.
Right.
It builds confidence and shows that you value your needs.
And finally, what about those Jebusites?
Yes, the persistent challenge.
What can we learn from that?
It reminds us that some challenges might take longer to overcome.
Yeah.
But instead of getting discouraged, we can reframe it as an opportunity for growth.
So it's like a growth mindset.
Yeah, exactly. Setbacks are a part of life, but they don't have to define us.
Right. We can learn from them and come back even stronger.
Absolutely. Adapt and keep moving forward.
It's amazing how these stories from so long ago still has so much to teach us.
Isn't it timeless wisdom?
So we've got setting boundaries,
Yes.
facing our giants,
Right.
advocating for what we need, and embracing challenges.
It's a roadmap for a fulfilling life.
But there's one more thing from Joshua 15 that I've been thinking about.
Okay, what's that?
It's this idea of inheritance and legacy. Yeah, the
Mhm.
tribe of Judah was given this land as a legacy, like something to be passed down through generations.
Mhm.
And it makes me think about, what kind of legacy we're building with our own lives.
That's such a powerful thought. I love that connection you're making.
Yeah.
Because you're right. The land in Joshua chapter 15 wasn't just about physical property.
Right.
It was about building a future for the tribe.
Mm.
And in a way, we're all creating a legacy, even if we don't realize it.
Right.
It's about the impact we have on others. The values we pass on, the contributions we make to our families, our communities.
So it's not just about like the stuff we own,
No, not at all.
but the things that we leave behind.
It's the intangible things,
Yeah.
the lessons we teach, the memories we make,
Right.
the inspiration we give to others.
So it's really about making your difference,
Absolutely.
like leaving the world a little bit better than we found it.
That's what it's all about.
And that can look like a lot of different things.
It can.
Mentoring someone or sharing what we know,
Mm-hmm.
or even just being kind to the people around us.
Even the smallest actions can have a big impact.
That makes me wonder, what if we lived every day with that legacy mindset?
Oh, wow. That's a good question.
Like, how would that change the way we treat people,
Yeah.
the choices we make?
It would change everything, wouldn't it?
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Joshua 15,
Okay.
what are some of the big things our listeners can take away and apply to their lives?
Well, first, we've got to remember the importance of setting boundaries.
Yeah, like those ancient landmarks.
Exactly. They help us navigate our relationships.
And they help us protect our energy so we can focus on what really matters.
Second, we learned from Caleb that courage and faith can help us overcome anything.
Right.
We all have those giants we face.
And we don't have to face them alone.
That's so important to remember.
And then there's Aksa,
Yes.
reminding us to be bold and ask for what we need.
Don't be afraid to advocate for yourself.
And lastly, the Jebusites.
Yes.
They teach us about being resilient
And adapting to challenges.
because some things just take time.
And that's okay.
So to leave everyone with something to think about.
Okay.
What giants are you facing in your own life?
And how can the courage of Caleb inspire you to overcome them?
And what legacy do you want to leave behind?
Those are great questions to ponder.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Joshua chapter 15.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.